Hey everyone, and welcome back to the live stream. If you are here and you are attending this live stream while it is live, let me know in the comments where you're from and where you're watching from. And if you are watching on the replay, hit me up with a hashtag replay so that I can know who is on my replay crew. Today, we're going to be diving into some of the questions that we have about CPC prep, some stuff about what you may want to see more of for the channel. I also want to talk about books. I want to talk about book formats. I want to talk about a rumor that seems to be going around about books and what content maybe I have planned. And of course, we're going to be doing some career Q&A and talking about certifications, schooling, programs, career advancement. So without any further ado, let's get started with today's stream. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the Contempo Coding live stream. Here back for Monday after a little bit of a hiatus. I've been traveling a bit, you guys, and usually I was trying to alternate for a while doing interview videos and live streams. And then I just could not get my interview videos edited enough to get that kind of gap filled in between, but we're back, hopefully back on schedule for a while. I hopefully don't have, well, I shouldn't say hopefully don't have, but I don't have much travel planned for the next couple of months. So hopefully we can get back to a more regular pace, trying to work out the different content plans, going through the analytics, seeing what everyone needs, lurking on all of those Facebook groups. Dun, dun, dun. But as I've been lurking, I've definitely been getting some ideas for videos. So yeah, it's been a good time. So for those of you that are posting on the AAPC Facebook group and posting on Reddit, just know that I am in there periodically, just peeking in on what's going on. I don't usually engage too much because it's just, that's a lot. It is a lot. So I don't have notifications turned on for any of them, but I do like to see kind of what the talk is going on every now and then, and hopefully make some content out of what's going on. So anyway, saying hi to in the chat Lee, and we have Myra here and Jennifer as well. Hopefully we get a few more coming in as we're going today. Don't forget to hit that like button. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. I want to talk a little bit starting off just about books. There seems to be a rumor that's floating around on my channel. And the rumor is, I'm seeing a lot of comments and a lot of panic that people are saying, I was told I'm not allowed to use books for my exam. My instructor told me I'm not allowed to use books. And I want to kind of spell out where I think a little bit of that is coming from. I believe that rumor might be true for some of the NHA exams, like the CBCS, but there are no plans of going bookless for the CPC exam. And I think people are getting confused and thinking that then they're not allowed to take books for the CPC exam. My understanding is the no book rule applies to the CBCS certification, which I've not personally taken. I understand it is a little bit more billing focused. And then in the areas where they do ask you coding questions, they have like a snippet of the book that you kind of need to see. So that's not true for the CPC exam. It's not true for the CCS or CCSP or any of those AHEMA certifications. As far as the AAPC, I think there are like one or two certifications that they do have that aren't really coding certifications where you can't have books. I think maybe the like practice management one and possibly compliance, but I think there are like a couple of certifications that aren't really coding certifications for the AAPC where you can't have books, which is why I don't want to say, that there's no AAPC certifications where you can't have books, because there are like one or two. There are one or two. Yeah, we would absolutely all fail with no book. People will ask from time to time, and it's a reasonable question to ask when you genuinely don't know and you're just starting out. People will ask like, "Well, do you have to memorize the codes?" Well, the codes that we have in ICD-10-CM, in CPT, in PCS, in HCPCS, they're not structured in any sort of way where it would be I think even anyone would be mentally capable of memorizing these codes because that's just not the way that they're structured. It would be equivalent to like memorizing, and this is probably dating me, but a phone book. So there's some things that might be the same in the way that in a phone book, some area codes might be the same and stuff, but there's no structure to it that it's like, oh, okay, well, if it's this and this and this and this, it's this digit, and you can just rattle the codes off the top of your head. So I don't foresee that we would ever go to completely bookless for at least for coding certifications. We will eventually, I foresee, move to digital tools, maybe whenever we get around to ICD-11. I personally am not too worried right now about ICD-11. We've not heard anything about potential dates even being thrown out. The only people I see now that are posting content about ICD-11 are people that I think are kind of wanting to, I don't want to say profit off of the panic, but people who are maybe outside of the United States, or they're just making informational content and they just want people to come and consume it and buy into that little bit of panic that people are worried about us switching. And it's not foreseeing that happen anytime soon. So I have a question here that's coming in on Instagram, and it says, I have my CPC exam scheduled for the 19th, and the email it says I can choose either or 48 hours prior to the exam. Yeah, so you can choose either I believe you're referring to, and if I scroll up, it'll probably say, either the ebooks or the physical paper books. Now, there are pros and cons to each, and I see Brittany has kind of a similar question as well, which is better, the books or the ebooks. There are pros and cons, so there isn't a definitive answer as far as definitely use ebooks all the time, or you have to use the paper books. Some of the top things to consider, though, is if we are using a paper book. So the nice thing about the paper books is they have all of these areas, especially in HCPCS. Let me see if I can bring one up. Oh, there's one right here. The HCPCS book has all this nice real estate for you to write in notes. So if you're someone who wants to write in notes about modifiers, med term, abbreviations, you can write that all in the notes section. The only things that you're not allowed to write really in your book are you're not allowed to write study guide questions and answers, practice exam questions and answers. You can't and wouldn't have the capability to anymore write actual exam questions, short of, I suppose, taking the exam, memorizing them, and then writing them in your book. So there is a little bit of limitations of what you can and can't write in your book. It used to say in there, and I noticed recently it actually got taken out, but it used to say on the FAQs that you were not to write long passages of text. But I think they took that verbiage out of there, that it no longer says you can't write long passages of text. But even with the exam centers, I think we still see a little bit of variance as far as what proctors are and aren't allowing. I personally, if I saw that someone wrote an entire other book into their book, might disqualify that. But I do believe that currently that verbiage about not having long passages of text is not in there. Also, pro of using the physical books is there are some people that swear by using methods like the BAT technique or Chun, where it's like you got to highlight, you got to notate, you basically turn your book into coloring books and highlight in certain colors, underline in certain colors, draw arrows, squiggles, lines, whatever. And there's some people that absolutely swear by that, right? With the ebooks, you are basically getting a shared book, almost like if you're borrowing it from a library, right? So there's no highlights in it. There's no notations in it. It's not your personal ebook that you're logging into. It's AAPC's editions of the ICD-10 and HCPCS manual and the AMA edition of the CPT manual, and they're blank. So it looks, I can show you a little bit. if you've not used their books before, this is what they look like. But you have to also remember that they will be embedded in the exam platform. So your questions will be covering half of the screen, and then you'll have this other half of the screen that has different components in it, like the contents of your exam to skip questions, and then also the ebooks. You can expand them out. But of course, as you expand out your ebook, then you can't maybe see your question at the same time. The benefit, though, of using the ebook versus a paper book is because you have access to the search function here. So your search function becomes a lot faster in some cases than using that physical paper book. Whereas if I'm searching something in HitPix and I want to find a word, I'm kind of limited to scanning through the index to find it. If I'm in an ebook, I can search for any instance of that word almost instantaneously. So let's say I'm in here and I'm looking for cholecystectomy. Cholecystectomy. I can search that here in the search bar and it'll bring me up all of the different, I'm in the ICD-10 book, Victoria, not CPT. But I can search every instance of that word appearing in the book and then find where it is. So I'm assuming this is probably like a history of status of cholecystectomy. So in any case, you do have that search option. And then the other thing I will say, though, is I have heard some people say, and I think this is maybe a little bit more so with the people who are taking the online remote proctor, that there is sometimes a delay in search. So if you don't have very strong internet connection, or perhaps the exam center does not have very strong internet connection, and you go to search or you go to move your cursor or scroll through something, there have been some people who have said, oh, there's a little bit of delay because the internet connection is a little bit slow. So that is another consideration. So it really is up to you to kind of weigh, what would you prefer? Do you want that comfort of like, I want to have my paper book and I want to have those notes. There's some things in there that I'm just really struggling to remember and I want to have access to that. Or, do you really want to have that search function? Are you someone who's like, I need to cut down on some time, and I know being able to navigate that search is going to really, really help me out? Speaking of time, though, another thing you really do need to think about is also your ability to navigate that online platform. Because I've had people come into my comments and they say, oh, I wasted all of this time because I went in and I skipped questions and then there was no way to go right back to them. So I just kept having to click the back button and click the back button. And I'm like, well, actually there is, but I think you just weren't aware of how to use that. You weren't aware of how to hit the content section and open up all of the different questions and see which ones you flagged and just click on them. So just understanding that exam format, which I do have videos on, and the AAPC also has videos on, that can really make or break some of those minutes that really do count for this exam. One other thing I will say about ebooks before I kind of switch over is another, I don't want to say con, but barrier that you will have with ebooks is when you're working on the practice exams with the AAPC, anytime you click off of the practice exam, it blanks out the screen. So if you're working on a practice exam, which does mimic the actual exam, and you're working with your personal ebooks at the same time, it's a lot harder to practice what it's going to look like because the practice exams are going to blank out anytime you go to click on your ebook. And I do have videos kind of demonstrating what that looks like as well. So even if you're on one monitor or two monitors or just the one that you're split screening, if you are reading your question and then you're going to click on your ebook, it's going to blank out that question on your practice exam. It won't do that on the actual exam, but it will do that on the practice exam. So that is a barrier to kind of work with as you're practicing using ebooks for the exam. Nikki asked, can we use both ebooks and physical books during the exam? You cannot. It has to be a choice of either ebook or physical book. And I can tell you because I just recently went in to take the CIC exam maybe a month and a half ago. And I chose to use my paper books because there were some notes that I wanted to use and have access to during the exam that I had written in my book. Only a couple pages of them, maybe like 3 pages. Excuse me. And when I brought my physical books, it did not give me access to the ebooks. So if you bring physical books, it's not that they're, you always have access to the ebooks on the platform. They're either going to set you up with the ebooks or they're going to not set you up because they know that you're bringing physical books. And you have 48 hours to make that decision or change that decision prior to your exam. But yeah, if you cannot use both, it has to be one or the other. Tina's asking, is there a time limit for completing the AI and medical billing and coding course? Life at me, and I'm struggling to complete it. However, I think it's really helping me understand AI and healthcare. It should have some information in your AAPC Blackboard. Usually it tells you somewhere when your course is supposed to terminate, although I have access to some courses that I think were supposed to terminate a while ago. And then they just went in and cleaned them up, but it should say it in your account. Let me see if I can bring mine up and see and show you a little bit. If you go to, let's see, student. Oh, and let me see if it even shows on mine. So mine says that, so these are all my courses that I have, current, past, previous, in my AAPC account. It says that the AI one was supposed to end January 31st of 2025. So I don't know if they offer extensions for that or not. I might actually still have access to it because some of these they say that I don't, and I feel like I do. Let me get out of this real quick so I don't want to. Let me see if it's letting me in. Come on. Oh, there we go. Log in. So if I go, yeah, when I go into my into my Blackboard, there's still some stuff in here from like 2020, 2022. And then I still have this one that said it was supposed to close permanently like April 1st of 2024. And I still have access to it for some reason. And I don't know if I should even bring this up or not, but about 2 years ago, I purchased the AAPC's All Access Career Pass. So they had a special for like their 35th anniversary where they're like, hey, you can pay us X amount of thousands of dollars and you will have access to any course you want for the next 4 years. And when you finish one, you can sign up for the next one. And I called customer service, tried to get access to the CIC one. They sent me a form. I filled it out. Never got access to it, passed my CIC anyway, filled it out again maybe a week and a half ago, asking for a totally different program, and have still not heard back from that. So I'm hoping to get some resolution from them soon about what's going on with my all access career pass, because I haven't gotten a notification about the ebook that's supposed to be included. I haven't gotten anything else in my Blackboard about that. But yeah, if you go into your AAPC account and hit student, top right hand corner, and then under your account and hit student, that's where it will show. Also, I believe if you go under my AAPC and purchases, and then I think it's under, let's see, purchases, and then courses and exams. It should show there as well with the start and end time and the expiration date. But yeah, I think if it is expired, it's worth giving the AAPC a call and asking what the extension process might look like. We have a question here. Is it better to have ebooks for work? A lot more employers are giving access to either ebooks or some sort of encoder or digital tool. Reason being is Physical books are heavy, and these are a lot to ship. And so many employers now have employees that are all across the country. And can you imagine taking this fat stack of books, including your ICD-10, which would be up to here, and let's say you're a billing company that has 50 different coders. Well, now you're going to have to ship 50 different sets of books out. You're going to have to collect everyone's addresses, make sure you got them tracked correctly, make sure that you're sending the right editions, and a lot of employers don't want to mess with that. And they're like, hey, we'll give you access to what you need. If you want paper books, you might just have to purchase them on your own. I've known some people that have done that they've gotten access to great encoders and all of the bells and whistles and everything they need, but still kind of feel like, hey, I want a paper book. And if you want a paper book out of personal preference, then you might have to just pay for it. Ugh, too many books. They don't want to stay put. Sonia asks, if you decide to do an ebook for the exam, do you still have 4 hours? Yes. Whether you are using an ebook or a paper book, you still have 4 hours for the exam, and it is still 100 multiple choice questions. The 100 multiple choice questions are pulled from a large bank of questions. I believe it's over 1,000 questions. They move some in and out, and they have a lot of different variations of the same question. So maybe they'll have one that's like a 2-centimeter lesion of the shoulder that's getting removed. And maybe they decide, we're going to pull this one, and they'll just add in one that's like a 2.5 centimeter of the other shoulder, something like that. What is the cost of the ebook? So I can pull that up for you on the AAPC website. If we go to, no, that's not the one. There we go. There I am. If we go to shop and then we go to book and guide bundles, 2025, they're starting to pre-order 2026 already. I suggest pre-ordering as soon as you can because the earliest ones are usually the cheapest. So you can get CPT, ICD-10-CM, HCPCS, $244.99. Now, having said that, those are for if you're using it for your personal use. So if you would just want to buy the ebooks, and I think sometimes maybe they do have them around here somewhere. Yeah, you can buy the print and ebooks together. Oftentimes, if you're ordering them early for a pre-order, it's a lot cheaper. So the print book bundle, print and ebook bundles are the same. If you buy just print or just ebook, if you want both, it looks like right now it is a little bit more expensive. Pre-order for 2026. Let's take a look at that though. Let's see if they're doing the bundles for the same price. Profi coder. Yeah. So if you order for 2026 through July, you can get basically buy the print books, get the ebooks free if you pre-order for 2026. Now, again, having said that about the ebooks, and as far as cost, that is how much they cost for purchasing ones for your personal use. If you are sitting for the CPC exam or any other AAPC exam where you can use the ebooks, and you select to use the ebooks versus the bringing your own paper print books, there is no additional cost to the exam, but you can only use those ebooks during your exam, right? So if I elect to use paper books, I have to bring my own correct versions of the approved editions, the approved calendar years of whatever code books that I'm allowed to use for that certification exam. I have to provide those in the US. Other countries, it might be different. In the US, for US-based coders, you have to bring your own print paper books. If you want to use the ebooks, all you have to do then is arrive to your exam with your ID, and those ebooks will be embedded in your exam at no additional cost above and beyond what you are paying for that exam. So let's say the AAPC exam or CPC exam, I think is like $500 right now, something like that. and you want to use the ebooks, you just pay the $500. They'll put those ebooks in your exam platform. That is the only place you will have access to them, is when you are actively taking that exam. If you want to start practicing ahead of time on using those ebooks, you do need to purchase them. Kathy says, how long are you here for? I'm going to be here until 3:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm actually booked. I'm going to get a facial and my eyebrows tinted from a friend of mine here who's an esthetician. So I got a boogie, so I make it in time to get my brows done, because they are a mess and they need to get done. I saw a question on here, and let me just check over Instagram. I saw something about the CRC, and I definitely want to get to that. But let me check what's going on with Instagram. I don't want to ignore those, because those don't come into my big stuff with StreamYard. Someone says, tell me about medical coding job opportunities, and then do you need 2 years experience in order to get a job as a coder? Is that true? So let's start out. I'm going to start with these, and then we're going to go back to the CRC question. Tell me about medical coding job and opportunities. I do have some videos on my channel that I'm actually just going to direct you to. And as far as, they say that you can't get a medical coding job without 2 years experience. It definitely would be easier to find a medical coding job with 2 years experience. It's easier to find any job if you have 2 years experience. But I think medical coding is on par with most other fields out there. I recently got curious and asked ChatGPT to see, I'm like, is genuinely medical coding like one of the top jobs where people cannot find jobs? Or is this just, a misconception because we just see so many of the complaints online? And it said no. It said that there's it started rattling off way different fields than medical coding that are the ones that people are struggling the most to find jobs in. But I think there's just a large amount of people who maybe did not get adequate training or aren't appropriately prepared, in combination with people who maybe genuinely are struggling. But a lot of complaints online, more so than the people who are screaming to the rooftops that they got a nice cozy job and are having a fun time. But let me get over to here. So if you're ever curious, like, oh my gosh, I wonder if Victoria's ever made a video about blah, whatever, highlighting your book, about E&M, about job search. There is a magnifying glass over here. Sometimes you have to scroll over to get to it, but you can search for things, like if you wanted to search for jobs or entry levels or whatever. But I also have a playlist on here that's called, are you looking for a medical coding job? Here is all of my best advice. So there's a whole playlist there about the different jobs and job opportunities, job titles. I'm actually working on some different graphics right now in relationship to job titles to look for and job seeking strategies and stuff like that. Now, as far as, I want to get back to that CRC question. So what's the difference between the CPMA and the CDEO? I already have my CRC in work and risk adjustment. So CPMA certified professional meaning pro fee outpatient 1,500 claim form auditing, versus the CDEO clinical documentation expert outpatient. When we look at the breakdown, one of the easiest ways to kind of tell the difference of what's going to be comprised on an exam is if you go to the AAPC website and we go here to where it says certifications and view all certifications. If we have here, let's start with CPMA. If we go to CPMA and we go to prepare for the exam. No, maybe it's different. Prepare for the exam. Yeah, prepare for the exam. And then scroll. This one doesn't. Oh, no. See, now it makes it taking the exam. Is it there? Yeah, okay. I feel like sometimes they move stuff on me. Okay. So AAPC certifications, click the certification, go to taking the exam, scroll all the way to the bottom, and that's where they're going to start giving you the exam breakdown. So what are they going to test for on this exam? So the CPMA is going to cover medical record standard and documentation guidelines, compliance and regulatory, coding and reimbursement, scope and statistical sampling methodology for audits, quality assurance and risk analysis, communication and results of audit findings, and then medical record auditing abstraction. If we go, however, to the CDEO, what the CDEO is going to test on, taking the exam, it's going to cover the purpose of CDI, provider communications and compliance. So a little bit of overlap there. And it's going to cover a lot about these 20 clinical conditions. Interestingly, these seem very similar to something else, though, right? Risk adjustment. So if you already have your CRC, there's a good chance you're already familiar with a lot of these conditions, because a lot of these are risk adjustment conditions, with the exception of things like common conditions in pregnancy. But they are a lot of the high risk conditions. So 10 questions on diagnosis coding. And again, the CPMA is all auditing stuff, like ICD-10-CM, CPT auditing. Documentation requirements, payment models, including HCC. So again, there you'll have a little overlap. Procedure coding, 10 questions, quality measures, and then the 10 cases. So there's a lot more auditing, audit results, statistical sampling on the CPMA versus the CDEO, which is going to cover more so provider compliance, communication, working with providers on improving their documentation. Especially, they're going to test you on these particular conditions and probably procedures related to those particular conditions. Vero says, do you have any tips on working the op notes on the CPC exam? That's what took me the longest. First off, I would say when you're working with the CPMA, specifically when you're working with the CPC exam, and you have a long case and you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to take considerable amount of time, make sure that you understand how to flag those questions and come back to them, especially if you really think you're going to get hung up on it. Every question has the same points value to it. So every question is going to be worth 1 point out of those 100 questions that they're going to ask you. So if they ask you a question about, blood vessels, it's going to be 1 point, and a 2-page op note is also going to be 1 point. So, look at learning how to skip those and come back to them if that's a concern. As far as learning how to tackle op notes, I do have on the channel several walkthroughs of case studies. We're also starting to pick up again on doing members only case studies. So if you are subscribed to channel membership, even at the lower levels, you do get access to some additional members only case studies, but you do have these available to practice with. I'm working right now on finding kind of, I think, the balance of what is going to be beneficial. I'm kind of, I guess, known for the career questions, entry level, like how to get a job, what certifications are good, and trying to balance that too with things that are going to be really, really beneficial to current examinees, to people going for their next certification, like how much technical, here's how to code stuff do we also want to put in there. Definitely getting some ideas again, because I've been lurking out there on the Facebook groups. Oh gosh. But yeah, I do have case studies available. I've been toying with the idea. I've been toying with the idea of doing a video. I was talking with Corella, who's very prominent in promoting Project Extern, And also I was talking with, Ray Jimenez, who's in charge of, sorry, I'm moving my table, in charge of, I think she's president now of products, services, membership, something like that. About how to get employers on with Project Extern, because obviously we have a lot higher weight of people who are willing to do externships, and not as many employers signing on. And I'm like, gosh, I really need to figure out a plan for myself to like maybe bring, like, here's all the things I could have an extern do for me. And maybe then make a video that's like, hey, I hired someone from Project Extern to help out with, and maybe they could help me make case studies or double check my things and make sure I didn't, fat finger a code on a presentation or something, or turn, some of my content into other forms of content, or, what are the coding things that I could potentially have a part-time extern from Project Extern do, and then show how it worked out, and then hopefully bring in other companies to go like, hey, you can hire externs too. It's a great program, and here's how well it worked for me. So I really feel like I should do that. And I feel like that might help expedite some of my content, but I have to make sure that I want to make sure it's coding related, and not just that I'm like having an extern who, I don't know, I don't want to say giving them busy work, but like I'm not actually a coding company. I don't have clients that I do coding for. I do contract work myself, which I can't just hand off to an intern. So trying to weigh that, but I think that would be hopefully beneficial. Ryan's asking, are externships paid positions? They are not. They are unpaid positions. Speaking of externs, Midnight Cat's asking, do you have any advice on applying for externships as students or students getting ready to take the exam? Should you wait to pass the exam before looking for an externship? So if you are a student through Preppy, you will be given opportunities to navigate and have an opportunity for an externship. Otherwise, outside of that, not a lot of educational institutions give them. And I actually feel like Project Extern moved recently, that like it's on the AAPC job boards. Let's see if we can find it. So here's Project Extern with the AAPC. When you join, register, because now it really talks more about joining as an employer versus someone who's willing to work as an extern, because I think they moved those extern opportunities over to the job board. Let's see if I can find the AAPC job board. Hold on. Resources, find a job. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, extern program. So here's 4 externships that they have available with the AAPC website. I'm actually going to go over again with you guys how I found that, because I know some of you probably that was a little fast. So what we're going to do, if you are on the main AAPC website page and you're looking for an externship, which again is not a paid externship, it's a volunteer, you go to resources, find a job. And if you go down here to find by job type, these are where the externship opportunities are available here. Currently, there's 4 of them. So here's one. Ooh, Port St. Lucia. That's right where my friend Christine Hall is. Radiation coder, medical billing, and then externship receptionist, administrative assistant. So there are opportunities out there. It looks like some in person, some remote, and that's where you find them. Now, if you go through a program like Preppy, which is the program that I recommend to all of my viewers, because we have a really, really good relationship. We've put together some great free career masterclasses that talk about the right way to get into a career in medical billing and coding. That's the program that I would recommend. And they include an externship as part of their program. So you can find out more about how to get into a career in medical billing and coding by signing up for that free career masterclass at medicalcodingmasterclass.com. You can also find out more about Preppy by going to preppy.org. And if you go here under their medical billing and coding, this is all the information about their medical billing and coding program, how you can finish in as little as 6 months. They have student success stories. So if you want to see that, that's available here. They have a YouTube channel also about success stories, and they even keep the pricing very, very transparent. It's right here at the bottom of the page. They have a $2.99 per month payment plan. And if you pay it all at once, it's $15.99. So at the end of the day, a lot cheaper than even programs through the AAPC, programs through your technical schools, your employers. Preppy is a lot more cost effective. It's on demand. It's, study where and when you want. There's a lot of learner support. On the rare occasion that I do sometimes hear something from someone that's like, hey, I haven't heard back from anyone, and I send that over to Preppy, they're like right on top of it. They're like, yeah, we've actually reached out to her a couple of times, or they're like, oh, we can't get through her phone number, or, she's not responding to it. So again, that's super rare. I think it's even been months since I've heard a single concern about anything in that regards. But they're fantastic. So if you're looking for a program, I would highly, highly recommend that you look into Preppy. I do also want to disclose that they are a sponsor of this channel, so I do receive compensation from them. If you're like, hey, Victoria, I don't like that, and I don't trust anyone who has a financial motive for anything, you can just go directly to the AAPC and get everything you need. They have bundles there as well. They're not going to be as cost effective as Preppy, but you can do that as well. You can check your local community colleges, check your local technical schools. You might get some sort of grants. My area, I had grants where I got my medical billing certification, my medical billing training and certificate of completion from my local community college, but then did have to pay for my CPC and my membership and all that. So, yeah. Guru says, I have my exam on May 17th. Please give me any tips for the exam. Perfect. That's awesome. So if you go to the main channel page here, there is a playlist with lots and lots of help for the CPC exam. There's general, why does that look funny? CPC exam tips, as well as the CPC review. So all of my tips on the exam are on those videos. I have a question here. What's the cost of a 6-month certificate? It depends on your area. It depends where you're going to get your education for. I'm sure there's places out there where they're doing associate's degrees, and it's going to cost $15,000, $20,000. And I'm sure there's also programs out there where someone has, 7-year-old PowerPoints that they cheated and got a hold of online. They're selling courses for $20. There's going to be everything in between. I personally would not recommend spending more than maybe $5,000 tops. And that's if you're getting literally everything included. That would be if you're getting a certificate of completion, you're getting your certification paid for, your AAPC membership paid for, all of the books. That would be what I would say is don't pay any more than that. Most programs I would say are probably in again, Preppy's my recommendation because it's so cost effective and so good, but I think a lot of them are probably around the $2,000 to $4,000 range. I'm gonna pop over to Instagram. There's a question that came in that says, hey, I'm currently preparing for the CPC exam. I'm a doctor, leaving and working in Europe, planning to take the exams till the end of the year. Which studying plan do you recommend? I personally, again, prefer Preppy. If you want to self-study, I have videos on that since you already do have some healthcare experience. One of the books that I recommend for self-study, if that's something that you're interested in, not everyone is though, is, let's see if I have it in my ebook library. Yeah. So there's this book that's called Step-by-Step Medical Coding. You can get this on Amazon. I think I have it linked in most of the videos. I probably don't have it linked on Facebook because they kind of limit how many links you can have. But that's one you can buy on Amazon. I like to buy the ebook on Bookshelf. It does include a online course ish sort of thing, where it's kind of like an accompaniment to the book. But this is a great resource, I think, as far as if you want to learn medical coding. So most people either go by Buck step by step and learn with this curriculum, or which I believe is what Preppies still teaches with, unless that's changed recently. Or people will go directly for the AAPC, and they will get the materials there. Now, as far as CPC, some people want to go to the CPC and CPB and get both at once, which you can do. CPC courses, it looks like they start at $2,849, and I'm not sure that includes prerequisites or books. Yeah, so the $2,849, self-paced training, lookup assistance, 1-year AAPC membership, and benefits, and that does not include books, practice exams, anything like that. Cat Mom Life says, I have a question. Is the Optum Books brand the same as AAPC book as far as do they have the exact same codes in them? Yes. So if you buy an ICD-10-CM book from Optum or AAPC, or does Decision Health make them, I think now, AHEMA, what are the other ones that are out there? The AMA, they all have the same codes in them. They do not have the same layout. And depending on which book, you may or may not be able to bring it to the certification exams. So for the CPC exam, what books are allowed? CPC exam. Let's see if we can find it that way. Medical coding books. What code books do I need? Let's see if it brings it up. Okay. Sometimes it gives old stuff, though. The CPT book is the AMA Professional Edition only, but you can bring whatever ICD-10-CM if you're taking an inpatient coding exam, PCS, and whatever choice you want of HCPCS level 2. Let's go over the listing here. Yeah, so CPC exam, certified professional coder, you're allowed to bring references number 1, 2, and 4. So books and references number 1, 2, and 4, which is this. The CPT AMA Professional Edition only, and then your choice of ICD-10-CM and your choice of HCPCS level 2. If you were talking about the CPC exam, not everyone's taking the CPC exam. Some people are taking CPMA. Some people are taking CBCS, other certifications out there. So check with the certification you're getting. For example, if you're taking the Certified Risk Adjustment Coder examination, Certified Risk Adjustment Coder, you're only allowed to bring reference 2, which is your choice of ICD-10-CM. So, yeah, my professor has us buying the Optum brand books. Yeah, they might be cheaper. Some people have preferences. Some people like the Optums as far as the ICD-10-CM and HCPCS, but if you're taking the CPC exam, you have to use the AMA edition of the CPT book. But if we look at, hold on, so they might have different things like different appendices. They might have different illustrations. The codes themselves will be the same, but there might be differences as far as layout, etc. But let's take a look here. So if we look at Optum's website, ICD-10-CM, expert, professional, blah, blah, blah. Why is it 2026? I don't want the 2026 yet. Pre-order. I don't know where the... Okay. But yeah, you can see there's a different kind of look to them versus the AAPC editions. And they might have just different layouts. They might have The guidelines might look different. They might have different icons, colors, illustrations, etc. But that doesn't mean you can't use them for coding. It's just that there might be some restrictions as far as certification exams. Tasmia says, I recently completed my program with Preppy and applied for the externship program. Awesome. I hope everything goes like super, super amazing. Sonia's asking, where can I get 2025 new codes? Is it acceptable to print, use the Avery big sticky label and paste it to the notes in the book? No. So if you're referring to, if you have a 2024 book and you want to put the 2025 new codes in the book, you can write them in the book, but you are not permitted to paste them in the book. I think, let's see if it's in the instructions that I have up here. Do not. Okay. What are the benefits? Let's see if I can show you where it is. Books. What? Here we go. FAQs, what is allowed in our books. In print books, handwritten notes are welcome in your coding books as long as they pertain to daily coding activities. Please note that notes from study guides, practice exams, or the exam questions are not permitted. Tabs may be inserted, taped, pasted, glued, or stapled in the manuals. Just be sure that the tabs are used to highlight important pages with words or numbers rather than supplementing information in the book. To ensure integrity of your manuals, we kindly ask that you avoid altering pages in your coding book, such as marketing pages, table of contents, or reference pages. This helps maintain the original format of the book. So while you can write the new codes in there, if you have a 2024 book, you're not permitted to like tape or highlight or staple or otherwise paste them in, because that would be considered supplementing information in the book. And the only thing that you're allowed to have in there is basically tabs that might have either the code ranges or the category kind of written on them to show that they're just bookmarking a page. I was told in New York you're not allowed to use the book for day of exam. Is this true? That is not true for any AAPC examinations, short of I think maybe the ones that aren't coding related, like practice management. And it's not true for the HEMA coding certifications. I believe it is true for the CBCS certification, which is not an AAPC coding certification. If you want to get a job in medical billing, it's fine to get the CBCS. It's fine to get whatever certifications. They usually aren't super strict on certifications or require them for billing positions. If you want to get a job as a medical coder, you will need to get a certification through AAPC, like the CPC, or through a HEMA, like the CCS or CCSP. Employers do not really want the CBCS for coding positions. Again, it's fine for billing positions. Not everyone has the same goal, so I'm not going to say don't take it. But there are pockets of areas that will take the CBCS for coding, but not a lot. So my understanding, and again, I'm not certified through the NHA. I don't look at their website a lot. I'm not super affiliated with them. My understanding is the CBCS certification does not permit you to use books, and that if there's questions on codes, they'll have snippets showing what information it is that you would look at in the book or what that book page would look like in order for you to answer that question. You are permitted to use books for the CPC exam. You can select to use either physical paper books or ebooks. They have to be either the current calendar year or prior calendar year. The AMA edition is the one that you have to have for the CPT book, but you can bring any edition you want of ICD-10-CM or HCPCS, provided that they are current calendar year or one calendar year prior, and of course that you didn't write practice exam questions in them or have things pasted and taped and stapled in your book. Raya is asking about the CCS exam. I wrote the CPC exam 4 times, but someone else was asking CPC, but couldn't crack the exam, missed by 1 or 2 points. Now I'm trying to crack the exam. Do you have any tips for me? all of the tips that I have in regards to the CPC exam are on the main channel page. Now, I would say definitely check through what your exam results are. If there are certain areas that you have not been successful in particular, like let's say cardiology, go back to your original training materials, read through the cardiology section, go through the practice questions. If your instructor only assigned you the odd number questions in that chapter, go through all of them. Get some additional study materials for those sections that you're not performing well at. But in addition to that, I do have some review material that you can check for free on the website. So that is all available for you to review at your leisure for free. And then I did see one here. I'm taking my CCSP on 5/22. Do you feel there are more inpatient jobs out there than outpatient? I do feel like I'm seeing more inpatient jobs these days than outpatient. However, the CCSP isn't really necessarily inpatient. That's provider based and outpatient. The CCS is the one that's more inpatient, facility UBO4 form kind of geared. But yeah, I do see there are I feel like there are some more inpatient coding positions that tend to be opening up more, which is one of the reasons that I think I went to get my CIC, also to just be able to talk about PCS coding. There's a comment here on Instagram that says, I signed up to get more info from Preppy. It sounds great. And you receive a Chromebook. Yeah. So one of the perks about Preppy is that if you pay in full, so let's say you're like, I just want to, I don't want to have to worry about interest. I don't want to have to worry about installment pays, or maybe you just want to throw it all on a credit card because maybe you get like money back or something. You can do that. And if you pay in full, they will issue you a Chromebook so that you have access to the hardware that you need in order to study medical coding. So that's definitely a perk. I mean, obviously, it's not like they're giving you some sort of gaming laptop, like an Alienware or whatever people use these days. It is a Chromebook that is sufficient for studying. And with that, I am going to be heading off. I have, Haley says about the New York book's definitely not true. Yeah, not for the CPC again. Maybe the CBCS, but I'm not super up to on what the latest is for the CBCS. In any case, I will be heading out. I'm not sure if let me know in the comments. Do you want me to live stream every single week, or do you want me to come every other week? Because if we do, I'm not sure where to intersperse then some of the interview content that I have. I'm trying to come up with like a good rhythm of schedules, but I don't know. What would you guys prefer? Would you prefer that I live stream every week and then use the interviews as supplemental stuff on the channel? Should I replace it with the usual Thursday videos? Do you want me to just have those stream at some point in the week? Just let me know in the comments. I want to get some feedback from you guys. I will see you guys in the next video. And until then, just keep on coding on.